This webinar is thanks for those who are attending. This webinar is for those who want to learn a little bit more about AOG Career Services and what they offer, and some of the tips that, that Julie has gained from working with the Career Services team, or as part of the Career Services team, I should say. And this webinar is part of a series that of mentorship focused webinars that we're doing, that we get from feedback from the annual survey. And the intent is that there are going to be resources that are out there so that people can learn a little bit more about what West Point has to offer, what the different branches have to offer, just professionally and personally. We've done some on working from home, some on the different branches, some on resilience. So just a variety of topics. So this is one of those series, and hopefully for those that, again, they're all posted on Facebook under the videos section. So if you want to check out any of the other ones, they're there for you. With that, I am Chelsea Freeholfer. I am on the West Point Women Board as the secretary, and again, we're trying to just expand our outreach. So please feel free to add anything in the comments as Julia is speaking. And Julia, go ahead.
Awesome. Well, hi, everyone. Again, my name is Julia Ruddock. I'm actually Chelsea's classmate, so it's always good to be working and partnering with fellow classmates in the fight, right? I really appreciate your inviting me to this webinar. Over the course of the, year and a half, I think I've been working with AOG so far in the Career Services function. It's been quite the wild ride in terms of building an organization with two of my teammates, actually. And actually, let me bring up, I'm going to quickly share my screen here, so that, let's see here, anyone who's online will be able to see at least my other teammates. So can everyone see my screen? Yeah, you can see it, Chelsea?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. So yeah, again, Julie Ruddock, class of '07. My two teammates are Miguel Gutierrez and Scott Leishman. You can tell they're definitely OGs and great teammates. I could not honestly ask for better teammates. But for those out there who have not yet connected with us, I highly recommend you do so, especially if you're in the job search yourself. But a little bit about me. How did I actually end up in Career Services? So actually, this past Monday was my fifth year in the function of Career Services. And if anyone knows me, they know that I don't stay in positions or organizations for very long. I'm one of those Gemini type people out there. I always like to keep things moving, keep things a little bit interesting. But yeah, so I've been in Career Services now for about 5 years. How I even got into Career Services is something I can get into a little bit later. But after I left the Army as an engineer officer, I pivoted into Citigroup through their military officer leadership program. And I'll touch on that a little bit later in terms of diversity programs out there available for women especially. And Citigroup is no exception when it comes to their focus on women. So yeah, that's how I ended up in the corporate world beyond the Army. And while I was there within Citigroup, I worked with the senior leadership team, as part of the senior leadership team, I should say, to launch early career development programs and also internal talent development programs with the HR teams there. Loved it so much. As part of my role, senior vice president there, I just decided to take about a quarter of my role, segment that, and run with it permanently. So that's how I ended up in Career Services. I've worked with 2 universities down in the Florida marketplace. Reconnecting, obviously, which I had no idea this would actually even come about, but I reconnected with the old soup, General Lennox, for those of you who were there at the academy while he was there. But in Florida, he was the president of St. Leo University. He scooped me up from the university I was at with their Career Services team and brought me on his team permanently as the director of Career Services there. Loved it so much. Working with veterans turned me on to this idea of working with not only early talent, but also adults who are pivoting, their own career transitions here from various aspects of life and walks of life. So that's how I ended up here at AOG. Another grad said, hey, I wonder if there's anyone out there in the world who would like to work with us here at AOG to build out the career services function for AOG. And next thing you know, through another grad and other grad recommendations, I was able to pivot into this position here. So absolutely love it. We've been in business now about 1.5 years since December of 2018. And throughout that time, we've built an amazing program that if you've not yet heard about it, I'm happy to talk to you a little bit more about that today. All right. So I don't know, Chelsea, if you wanted me to go into a little bit of the program at the moment. Yeah.
Yes, that'd be great if you can
Perfect.
just give a little bit more detail
Sure.
about it, since it is pretty new and it's not
Oh,
something that was around when we were here.
absolutely. And just like you mentioned earlier, it's really a program that we built strictly based on the feedback of grads. I mean, you've probably received AOG surveys. All of us have received surveys over the course of our time beyond the academy, with just interested in feedback about what can we do better, what things might be out there that we're not tracking that we might want to develop. And boom, the SAC has been here for, I want to say, this year we celebrated the 25th anniversary of the Service Academy Career Conference. But beyond the career conferences that we had on a quarterly basis, there was really not very much support for grads, really, when you think about it, in between those job fairs. So what AOG did, Miguel, who was who's our director, you saw him on the earlier slide, class of '80. Miguel was the first one brought in, and then he hired Scott and I. And what we've built so far is essentially an end-to-end career services program from the day you leave the academy. Let's say you're a grad who, unfortunately doesn't commission, or let's say you're an '06, 30 plus years or whatnot, plenty of those out there, right? Who, been in the Army for that long, or you were like me, JMO, 5 years and, five and fly type of thing. We represent all grads across all year groups when it comes to transitioning out of the military for the first time, or for folks like us pivoting from one job to another on the civilian side. So really, grads are our main client, so to speak. We are all focused on assisting grads with really every segment of the job search process, whether that's career exploration, figuring out internships like the DoD Skills Bridge program. We assist with that as much as possible, but not necessarily as the practitioners, but at least making sure that you're leveraging that in your broader job search strategy. Also, we work with employers. About half and half of our role is really as not necessarily counselors, but as advisors. The other half of our role is as a business developer, working with employers across the broader economy, local and global, as well, to figure out what organizations there are who are actually hiring. And then obviously we're very much working with grads who are hiring grads. This happens to be one of the key sources of job recommendations, and other grad clients we work with are just grads within the network, right? So how does our program actually work? Well, you're happy, or happy to tell you, I should say, that you'll be assigned with one of us, three of us, as a transition coach throughout the entirety of your actual job search. You're also paired with Korn Ferry, which I'm not sure if many on the call or the webinar might be aware of who they are, but Korn Ferry is a massive search firm, executive staffing firm. And on the flip side of their business, they have another business line which is strictly focused on the career coaching aspect of that. So that is what Korn Ferry Advance is all about. It's essentially a career coaching tool that allows you the opportunity to connect with their career coaches as well on a variety of topics that might be most important to you throughout your job search. All right. So that is the Korn Ferry side of the house. You also have access to them. And then really the crux of the career services program is the grad network itself, right? The long gray line. We will work with you proactively to identify other practitioners out there, whether they're aligned by industry or if they're aligned by your local geographic area. And we work primarily through the West Point societies in order to bring about, or at least make you aware of, other grads in specific areas that you might be interested in working later on. And then, of course, we hook you up with as many of the tools and best practices out there that we can share with you to make sure that you are at least enabled to the maximum, what's the word, to the max, right? When it comes to what you need to know in order to transition. So I'm happy to let you know that to date, we have worked with about 246 grads into a new opportunity. I think that's fantastic, given that there are only three of us. We don't get paid by grads to do anything. We are literally here specifically 100% for grads. And we don't make any money off of our grads, not like a staffing firm or whatnot. And no knock on them, but you are our actual clients, grads here on this call, and other grads as well, okay? But yeah, so I at least dropped in a few of the employers we've mentioned here, specifically Amazon, JP Morgan, and Chase. These are our top employers actually for 2019, going into 2020 strong, even still. And I mean, honestly, the wide variety of employers out there who are open to our grads, we pretty much have someone who works within the organization who we can pair you up with, right? But yeah, I'll just stop there in case there are any questions so far.
I don't see any questions in the chat box yet, but I do have a couple of questions.
Sure,
I was
yeah.
wondering if you could talk a little bit about, say I'm a West Point woman looking to make a career shift. Where do I start, and how long can I expect the process to take?
Absolutely, absolutely. So another thing I'm going to pull up here, I'm actually going to bring you to our careers website, which I'm not sure for those of you out there if you've seen it yet. So let me know when you can see that. Okay, Chelsea?
I can see it.
Excellent. So one of the first things you want to do, you want to hook us up here. WPAOGcareers.org is our main website. I actually built it myself, so let me know how it looks, and I'm always open to feedback. I'm always open to feedback. I tried. I'm not very good at these things, but I tried. But yeah, one of the first things you'll do, hit us up, go to WPAOGcareers.org. And one of the first places after you check out a little bit more about our program, some of the resources we have available, the first place you really want to go is the Get Started tab up top. And this goes into really the entirety of our program, how to get started. First things first, we want to make sure that you are in our career services portal, which is powered by a platform called Handshake, but that's less relevant. But what first thing we want you to do is register with a personal email address, preferably the one that you have on file with AOG, by joining our career services platform here. Once you're in the platform, then you can go ahead and come back, either click this link or look under the events tab in order to find the WPAOG Career Services program. Once you RSVP, so to speak, to the program, then one of us will reach out to you to set you up with an initial consultation, just like any other professional service, so we can get a much better idea of what really your interests are. There's no one size fits all. I mean, we all know that we're all unique in terms of what it is that we are looking for in our career transitions. So all of these things that are on this page, a dedicated career coach, I hope I get to work with one of you, access to Korn Ferry Advance, their platforms, and pretty much everything that you find on this page, you will be able to get from the Get Started tab on our main website. But yeah, once you're enrolled in our program, Chelsea, then the rest is up to you. Our grads, we leave it up to you to drive the agenda. I know a lot of folks might be intimidated by the idea of, I don't really, I'm not really sure what I even want to do. That's okay. A key aspect of career services is not just to help you find a job, but really, just to talk with you one-on-one and deliver that individualized coaching experience that really all of us need, quite frankly. I mean, who doesn't need someone to brainstorm with and bounce ideas off of, right? But yeah, so once we have you enrolled in the program, you're assigned with one of us, and the rest is up to you in terms of where you want to take your career. And we essentially embed ourselves and facilitate each and every aspect of your job search, whether that's exploration, getting your resume done, prepping for an interview, helping you optimize your LinkedIn profile, and then obviously connecting you with a broader network as much as possible. At the end of the day, though, we can't necessarily guarantee that you'll get a job, right? No one can do that. But we definitely will do everything that we can to make sure that you are equipped with the tools, the education, and obviously at least know how to find and grow your network, find relevant contacts and grow your network so that you can optimize your job search to the max.
Julie, you've worked with a number of people, men and women, of the long gray line so far. What are some of the most common questions or concerns that you see coming through career services?
Absolutely. And I don't really prep for organic chats like this, so forgive me if I'm looking off in the distance here. But when it comes to the key questions we've seen, first of all, is my resume optimized? That's a key thing we always get people ask us, is my resume good? Well, one of the key things I throw back at our grads is, good for what? Have you identified a particular type of opportunity, or at least a function, right? Whether that's business development or ops or sales or whatever that might be, so resumes are definitely one of those key things that we get a lot of questions about. And within our career services platform there, within Handshake, you'll have access to a wide variety of best practices when it comes to writing your resume and all that. So we've got the hookup for that. Beyond that, a lot of grads really ask us, well, how do I even go about this? A lot of folks don't really know that, it's not rocket science really when you think about it, right? It's people, the process that you go through to find an opportunity, but people really is the biggest piece, or are the biggest pieces of the job search strategy itself. Is, do you have a relevant network? Are you connected with the right type of people, and so on. And then, the other key thing that we always hear grads ask about is, okay, so salary negotiations. I don't really know how do I answer the question of, okay, what do you want in terms of dollar signs? It's a key question that, there are plenty of ways to go about answering that question. There's no right answer, but tons of questions like that. We get those when it comes to salary, resumes, and really positioning ourselves and how to explain what we've done in the military. I was an engineer officer, so to me, it's very easy for me to talk about my time as an engineer. But I tell you what, some folks, when I was in Citigroup, when I transitioned for the first time, looked at me like I had horns growing out of my head. So luckily, there was another grad on the back end who was able to not necessarily translate what I meant, but was able to soften them up a little bit so that they knew what to expect, in terms of how an engineer coming straight from Ramadi, as an example, Alambar is a little bit rough. So, how do you take those experiences and translate them into something that an employer would appreciate? All of those things and so much more, our team will be able to help you develop your storyline, so to speak, so you can deliver that, just like that.
That's great. I know that I struggled with really translating what I did in the Army and just how to put it on a resume or put it in writing, even though you understand what you do. So
right, and we understand it too, which is why we're so we're really not necessarily thankful, but we're really appreciative of the fact that AOG really gave us the bandwidth to build our program to suit grads. I mean, obviously our president's a grad, pretty much everyone within my reporting channel's a grad, which is great because they get it, right? So, when we launched this program, we really did sit down and look at our customer profile to see, okay, how do we build a program that supports our grads and provides you access to people and tools and all that out there, resources that would help you as well. And we connect you with folks who get it on the employer side. We don't just, introduce you to someone if an opportunity comes in that lines up with you and then that's it. It's really a personalized approach throughout, to the point you get that offer. We're there with you the entire way.
Yeah. So as with West Point Women, we haven't been around forever. There aren't a lot of us, roughly 5,000 or so. Yep. And we have some of the same skills that that our counterparts may have had, even in the civilian world. But are there certain companies or industries that you see that are looking for qualities and characteristics and experiences that West Point Women in particular have had?
Oh, absolutely. And there are no shortages of companies out there who are looking for, specifically, quite frankly, West Point Women. So I'll give you a few examples of organizations actually I'm working with, or we're working with right now, and who are actually my clients. So JP Morgan and Chase, if you haven't looked them up in a while, anyone who's out there interested in financial services, JP Morgan and Chase, Citigroup, if you're looking at banking, all of those organizations have a women's network or a women's affinity group or something like that. And they do put their money where their mouth is when it comes to finding women to, what's the word? Whether you're looking at a board position way at the top, you're looking at a senior leader. I mean, there are loads of organizations out there looking to stack their boards with different perspectives. And obviously that's something that we can contribute, not only as women, but also as veterans, right? Most of us probably combat veterans as well, so that's key on the banking side of the house for sure. And construction, I don't know, maybe I'm biased, I'm an engineer, but there are loads of opportunities in construction and engineering in general across the board. there's a grad called Mark House who's with Vet Group in Tampa. He'll tell you all day, you need to tell them to consider Vet Group. Skanska, API Group, who's one of our clients as well. He is always looking for women to bring into the API Group umbrella, which is about 40 plus companies all over the country. I mean, that's massive, right? And then, really across the board, I don't really think you'll find organizations out there who, do not have some idea or some level of awareness that, hey, maybe we need to bring in some diversity into our organization, right? So I don't think you'll find any shortages of organizations who have that as one of their key initiatives. And it's not really an initiative that there's an end date necessarily, but it is something that, a lot of organizations might have lost sight of the fact that, hey, I don't know, maybe it's been a while since we've looked at our talent structure. Maybe it's a while since we've looked at our talent programs to see how are we doing when it comes to enabling talent to move from point A to point B along their career trajectory. But yeah, I don't think you'll find any shortages out there. It's a matter of just pinpointing who they are and then finding who the influencers are who can advocate on our behalf. Again, all back to people.
And it sounds like, based on what you said earlier, that a big part of it too is just understanding helping you understand what you want as you approach career services and walking through that process to make sure it's a good fit.
Absolutely, absolutely. The last thing we want to do is see you join an organization and then within 3 months or 6 months, you're gone. You don't want to do that, which when you consider veterans, I think I read a stat probably a couple of weeks ago that veterans usually stay at an organization for a year and that's it. And then they book it to the next role. But the reason we've seen, not necessarily with grads, but the reason we've seen that those of us who've been in the talent field or function for a while, it's usually because of fit. When you look at it, really, it's always because of fit, right? And we stress as much as possible to our grads that when it comes to a career search, spend less time worried about, oh, if I'm going to find a job, and spend a lot of time getting to, first of all, know yourself, right? If you don't know yourself, I can't know you. You know what I mean? So it's very important to do some of that self-reflection, a lot of the homework, so to speak, on understanding what your credentials are, your skills, your interests, and to the greatest extent possible, we'll work with you to develop a plan that allows you to, get the most out of all of that when combined. Yep.
Great. So kind of just one of the not necessarily an elephant in the room, but just one of the things is COVID-19 and everything that's changing in our landscape of how people are interviewing and what jobs are available. How has that affected your role and just, what kind of companies and the interview process?
Yeah. So I tell you what, if you weren't good at virtual before, you might want to get good at virtual. That's perhaps the biggest adjustment a lot of companies, I mean, if you consider, let's say higher education, since that's technically my current industry, even though it's at AOG, but higher education, how many colleges and universities out there do you know of who maybe are small fry, who might not necessarily have the structure, the infrastructure in place to just pivot just like that into a virtual capacity? I mean, there's some, but not many. So that's been the biggest challenge, especially when it comes to serving our grads. How do we ensure that our grads account for, the virtual aspect of really everything? How do you manage a job search process in a virtual setting? Do you have your personal Zoom link? If you're in Germany, which, I just spoke with a grad this morning over in Germany, and he gave me his German number. I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? Do you have a Google phone or do you have a Skype or something like that set up? So those have been some of the biggest adjustments, not only for grads, but also for employers, because, as much as we like to think that they're put together, especially when you engage with them across the divide, right? Whether it's on a phone call or in person, a lot of companies have been able to, or have, have been able to quickly kind of bridge the gap when it comes to the capabilities and so on internally when it comes to technology. But that's been really the biggest adjustment that a lot of companies have had to make. Us here in AOG, we switched just over like that. Just like you see me now is ideally my work setting. A computer and a phone if I really need one, but otherwise internet, that's all you need for work. Other than that, what a lot of grads have been kind of sharing with us over the time is, maybe they had an offer in hand, but due to, an organization not very much being positioned to manage through a storm like this, maybe they had projects in the pipeline that their clients pulled. So there's been a lot, not like a crazy amount, but quite a few grads we've been working with have mentioned that, their offers were pulled. And, there's not much that anyone will be able to do that. What we say to that is, hey, keep in touch with them just to make sure that you cover your bases there, but keep moving. You know what I mean? Just keep moving, going through your job search process, touch base with us and just keep it moving when it comes to a job search. But yeah, technology is huge. And also being able to weather the storm yourself as a candidate is even bigger, so that you don't get, kind of down on yourself. Yep.
Sure. Well, Julie, I don't see any questions in the chat.
Okay,
I don't
no
know
worries.
if there was anything else that you wanted to touch on. I
Yeah.
think we covered a lot in
A little
terms
bit.
of what you do and how you do. We didn't get into a lot of the specifics for, for that, but I would like to know what the best part of working in career services has been and what kind of has given you satisfaction over the last year and a half.
Yeah, to be honest, I've always wanted to come back to West Point. I thought I'd be coming back here to teach Soch or Arabic or something like that, when I was in those programs. But to be honest, the key thing that I love is the fact that I get to work with a population of folks. Not only can I easily sell grads, so to speak, sell you as my product, but at the end of the day, I mean, why not grads? I've always wanted to come back to West Point. Grads have always been the cornerstone of my career development. Whether, I actually, when I first came here and I was doing my interview for the opportunity, I thought to myself, I thought, wait a minute, if I were to look back, every single opportunity I've ever had, whether it's during the Army or since then, there was always some grad somewhere in the picture, whether they were an advocate, an influencer, I mean, I still had to deliver, right? I still had to deliver, but at the same time, there was always someone there who I could reach out to for insight into an organization, maybe that I was getting ready to do an interview with or something, or I could easily pick up the phone and find a grad somewhere in some company to ask, hey, I need to connect you with someone who, is looking for a foot in the door for a certain organization. Do you know anybody? Oh yeah, sure, I know so-and-so. Well, okay. Or, oh, I don't know anybody, but let's just have a chat. So maybe for future reference, they can help our grads out. But to be honest, it's the network, quite frankly. The network has been great to me since I was 17 and I walked foot into the academy. Since then, honestly, I've never looked back when it comes to the academy. When I was down in Tampa prior to relocating here to back up to the academy with AOG, I was the career advisor for the Tampa Society down there. So I was doing this job anyway, but in a volunteer capacity for people I, quite frankly, like to hang out with. So, but yeah, that has honestly been the best part. And you can, whether that's for Scott or Miguel as well, I mean, they can tell you this is probably the best job they've ever had, because we really get to represent our own, not only showcasing, all the what ifs, all the other avenues that are available to each of us if we just pick up the phone and call or, shoot an email to someone. I think you'd be surprised what you'd be able to find out, but I love it. I quite frankly don't want to sell any other products except for West Point grads. So I think
so true.
I'm good.
I've seen grads, from the time when I was applying to West Point, just to, and then all the way through with your sponsors. And then once you leave, it's amazing the pockets of places you can find them just willing to assist and wanting to see you succeed.
Honestly, everyone's all over the place, right? You may not necessarily hear from them immediately, but for the most part, I have never called a grad or reached out. I mean, I think I reached out. One of my best friends is from the Maldives. Like, who goes to the Maldives? That's so far. But, when he was coming back over to Monterey for some kind of course or something like that from the Maldivian Army, first person he calls up, hey, Julia, guess what? I'm coming back to the States. Great. Let me know when I can come out to Monterey. And then COVID happened. So unfortunately, I haven't connected with him yet. But how cool is that, to be able to have those global relationships when you consider the grad network? It's a global network, and our vision back here at AOG is obviously to be the most connected alumni body in the world. And quite frankly, career services in my opinion, is one of the few subsets within AOG who actually deliver on that on a daily basis. So it's a fantastic, not necessarily a job, but for me, it's a calling. I've always wanted to help people, or really just work with people to make sure that they're looking at themselves in a total light, as opposed to just through the lens of one thing on their resume. It's
Great.
much bigger than that.
Yeah. Well, are there
Awesome.
any last words of advice that you'd like to give for anyone who's looking to transition?
Absolutely. Just give us a call. Honestly, we would love to talk with you, whether it's in a group setting, small group setting like this, or one-on-one. We have tons of resources out there. And to be honest, the key thing that we want you to do, or want you to be aware of, is that you should not be able to, or be going through a job search on your own. Quite frankly, there are so many grads, so many people out there, so many resources available to each and every one of us. If you just want to brainstorm with someone, just give me a shout. Careers at you'll find the information on our website, but just shoot me a note, find me on LinkedIn, connect with all of us on LinkedIn actually, and shoot me a note, julia.ruddock at WPAOG.org. Actually, I'll throw that in a chat for those who might be there. Let's see there, julia.ruddock at WPAOG.org. Yeah, boom, there you go.
Great.
Alrighty. Yeah, but no, I really appreciate the opportunity, Chelsea. And if you come across any grads whatsoever, whether they're hiring or they're looking to do a career pivot on themselves, here, whether that's now or a year from now, it's never too early to start with your career transition.
Thanks, Julia. I really appreciate it.